Welcome to Chinese Takeaway, Take 1. Hi Fred.
Yeah, thank you Claire for inviting me over.
And my name's Claire.
My name is Fred.
And we're going to be discussing the newspapers. Okay, first up, how is China reporting on the death of bin Laden? Quite an interesting picture is used to symbolise the Chinese perspective. It's a picture of poverty being fertile ground for the plant of terrorism to grow, and the death of bin Laden is picturised as cutting off, pruning just one tiny piece of the plant. In other words, I think the suggestion is that they're not making much difference. And it says Al-Qaeda is not a centralised organisation, but with one common commander. Bin Laden's death is definitely a heavy psychological blow to them, but it's not caused them any actual damage. But I think the most interesting phrase is, the key to fighting terrorism is not to kill one or two bin Ladens, but to eradicate poverty. Power politics and racial discrimination will only push more poor youths in that direction. Now, I think this is very interesting. I think this is very much how China looks at the death of bin Laden. They see it as a racial issue, and they also see it as it's inevitably going to be terrorism where there's extreme poverty. What's your view on that, Fred?
Well, I believe that what the paper says is a one-size-fits-all solution. Poverty and racial discrimination can be applied to almost any situation. In this case, we're talking about bin Laden's death. Probably you can use it or you can apply it in any other conditions. And I don't believe that poverty and racial discriminations I should say they are part of the reasons, but definitely the paper uses this reason just for the sake of convenience. It's convenient to quote this reason for what has caused the bin Laden or extremists.
Very interesting. I mean, I think there are elements of the US who agree with what's written here. I remember Senator Mitchell Obama's man in the Middle East citing poverty as the biggest cause of terrorism. So it'll be very interesting to see how China follows that story. Okay, that's story number one. The next one I wanted to look at. Fred, are you happy to do a women's issues article?
Yeah. This
is a report on page 4 of China Daily that a fifth of women are sexually harassed at work. And a survey was recently released by Women's Watch China, a Beijing-based non-profit organisation, saying that a fifth of women get harassed at work. Now, my takeaway from this is, number one, there's a lot more women at work. Number two, there's a lot more NGOs, non-governmental organisations, who are collating data on what happens, which is a new trend in China. Certainly this is an issue in China, but it's just as it is anywhere in the world. But also in China, a lot of work is done in a social environment. So often the most important business meetings don't take place in a room like this, they take place over dinner, at karaoke. So I think it's easier for sexual harassment cases to take place. Also, people are more stoical in China, they don't complain so much. So even if there is a real case of harassment, I think people are less prone to complaining than individualistic societies like the US and the UK. What's your view on that, Fred?
My view is this is natural. I mean, not because I'm a man, and I think this is sexual harassment is prevalent in every society.
Yeah,
but
that's
the
true.
difference is that, just like Claire mentioned, Chinese women are more stoic. You use that word?
They're less.
They don't complain. I agree with that. I agree with that. They don't complain not because of simply because of their weak sex.
Yeah.
Another reason I believe they have more on their minds about their social impact that might be resulted from exposure to sexual harassment.
You mean they're worried about losing their job or their reputation?
Yes, their reputation, the children, how the children will look at the mother if they know that. So to protect the family or out of any other reasons, they prefer to just to keep it a secret.
Yeah, that's what I've noted
away.
here. I've seen harassment. I've seen harassment as serious as rape, and people they're not open about it. They'd rather stay quiet. They wouldn't go to court. That isn't, people in China, they don't go to court so much, do they, Fred? In the UK we say, we're going to sue your ass, but here you don't.
Well, going to a court is going to be, it's not going to be cost effective.
Yeah.
It's going to be exhausting. It takes 3 or 4 years
It
sometimes.
does in the UK.
Yeah. So most people would not go to the trouble to go suing someone in court.
So it's family name first, and anything that would threaten that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, next one that I thought was interesting was this one. This is, we're looking at China Daily, we're looking at Wednesday, May the 4th. And the title of this article is Hospitals Prepped for Organ Transplants. And it's a report by the Ministry of Health that they're set to approve new organ transplant hospitals under a 1-year pilot project. And the condition for these hospitals is that the organ donation system is run by the Health Ministry and the Red Cross Society of China. And what it means is that rather than taking organs from inmates on death row, these hospitals will only take donated organs from people who voluntarily donated their kidneys, etc., or their livers. And this is an interesting statement in the middle of the article. According to Vice Minister of Health, Hang Jifu, given that countries are moving to abolish the death penalty, including China, using organs from executed prisoners is not reliable and may lead to ethical debates. So this is very interesting. Basically they're saying that as China is reducing the number of offences that will receive the death penalty, maybe ultimately to get rid of the death penalty altogether, that will no longer be able to rely on organs from prisoners on death row. And so a voluntary system for organ transplants is being set up in anticipation of the diminishing death penalty. Certainly this is in line with trends I've seen as I've seen US doctors coming over here to talk about medical ethics in line with voluntary organ donation. What do you think about this, Fred? Do you think this is a progressive step? Or do you think less people are going to be able to get the organs they need?
Well, I don't have much authority on this issue because all I heard about the organ transplants are based on rumors. Just like you mentioned.
There's a lot of rumors.
Someone was kidnapped because someone want to have his kidney and sell it to someone else for profit. I don't know about this. How about in England? Do you have a special organization that is in charge of the organ transplants?
Yeah, it's a fairly regulated and transparent system. So you can select to carry a card saying, I, Clare Pearson, or I, Fred Lee, will donate my organs upon death. So if I die in a car accident and I'm otherwise a healthy young person, they'll see that you're carrying that card and then your liver or kidney, and then there's a database of people waiting for those organs. So it's kind of a matching agency. People who carry the card and die, their organs are automatically matched with people awaiting lung liver transplants.
How about the criminals killed? Do you use organs?
We don't actually. So if somebody, we don't have death row anymore. But I also know that in the US, for example, you wouldn't be allowed to use somebody who hadn't opted in to donate their organs. So if they die on death row, you wouldn't then be allowed to remove their kidney and liver for donation.
Unless with a prior written consent.
There has to be premeditated a willingness to donate your organs. Whereas in China it's kind of an opt-in scheme. So and then the prisoners aren't seen as having those rights. So I think this is interesting, Fred. You're right, it is something that is subject to rumour.
Another interesting thing is that China probably, the Transportation Authority just issued a news a couple of days ago.
Oh really?
It has something to do with the organ transplants. Basically it's about when you apply for a driver's license, you need to indicate in that form whether or not you are willing to donate part of your body, for any cause. You have to tell them in the case of any emergency, like accident. So this is not something that people would usually consider. So when I apply, if I want to buy a car,
apply for driving
I
license,
have to tell them,
and you have to fill that in.
Yeah, I feel like tell them, do I need my organ? If I, my eyes or something, I'm willing to donate it to donate that to someone else in case of any emergency. So I have to fill out. I guess that's a little, probably that's a step forward. Yeah.
Fred, I think that's completely connected. I think they're shifting organ harvesting from death row to road death.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very pragmatic. Okay, that completes the loop for me. Another article I thought was interesting. From that paper. Oh, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to look at.
Okay.
This is about the giving legend, Chen Banghua. He's a self-made multimillionaire in China, and he gives a lot of money to charity. For example, when Buffett and Gates came to Beijing, he was the first to sign up for the philanthropy charity dinner. He started off, he's from humble origins, he's a farmer's son, but he turned into a recycling tycoon. He made an absolute fortune recycling waste, and now is one of China's richest men. But he attracts controversy because he does things like build a Great Wall of China with money and then gives it to a charity. Now other people, like the CEO of Wahaha, for example, the drinks company, give away their money very discreetly. So they increase workers' rights, they pay 10% bonuses, they give workers good dormitories at the factories. So they give their money more discreetly. So, Fred, what do you think about the difference between people like Mr. Chen, who gives away his money in a very publicity-attracting manner, or people like the CEO of Wahaha Drinks Company, who give away their money far more discreetly? Do you think one's better than the other, or do you think they just reflect different personalities?
Well, I guess this is the interesting society where in the process of interesting development, and I have no bias against Mr. Chen Guangbiao donating in such a big publicity. The result is he's doing good things.
He's doing good
things.
Yeah.
And but most Chinese people, also a large portion of Chinese people, prefer that if you do something good, you do it, but you don't say it. So most Chinese people like to keep a low profile while do good things. But this guy, wow.
He's in your face.
Yeah, he's like something very different from what people would perceive. So he do things high profile himself. That's different from what most people would prefer.
I see. People respect humility in China, don't they?
And lots of people also respect him. They say, wow, that's good. We know about Chen Guangbiao. I actually, before...
You know about him before you